And so welcome to the Paul Clark podcast. So with just under a week to go, just under a week till the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump, just under a week till he takes the oath of office and officially becomes the next president of the United States, we now have further celebrities coming out in protest. We began the week at the Golden Globes, where Meryl Streep was taking a stand, and standing up to the tyrant, the bully, the demigod that is Donald Trump. And now, and if there's any bunch of people out there who are more pretentious than A-list Hollywood actors, it's A-list musical artists. We now have the likes of Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Madonna, Cher, all coming out saying we will not perform the national anthem at Trump's inauguration. We even have Elton John here in the UK saying, I will not be performing the national anthem. I will not be a part of the inauguration of Donald Trump. Who's even asking you, Elton? Who's even asking you, Madonna? Were you even offered? Were you even, offered the chance to sing the national anthem at Trump's inauguration? I doubt it. And by the way, if I was the manager of any of these musical artists, if I was Beyonce's manager, I'd walk. I'd give her a slap round the face and then I'd walk. Because it's like, what a great opportunity, putting aside, what you might think of the man, his politics. It's an event that is watched around the world. Tens of thousands of people around the world watch this. The inauguration of the President of the United States is a big deal. It's a big televisual event. Regardless of if they're Republican or Democrat, it's just a big deal. It's all bells and whistles and fireworks. It's quite impressive. I would advise that you give it a watch next week, because it's quite spectacular, the inaugurations of American presidents. But why would you turn that down if you're an artist? What a great opportunity to stand there with the whole world watching, singing the American anthem. What a great way to sell tickets for your next gig. What a great way to sell records, to sell your albums. Why would you turn that down? Because I've got my principles. Well, principles don't pay the bills. But then again, the likes of Beyonce, Jay-Z, Meryl Streep, Hugh Laurie, those kind of people don't have to worry about paying the bills, do they? Do they? But that, guys, to all you lovies out there, to all you musical artists, to the likes of Madonna and Taylor Swift, that's why this man was elected. Because there's a hell of a lot of people out there that aren't living these cozy Hollywood lifestyles, that are living in small town rust buckets, that are crying out for some relief. And this man, they see as their only hope, their last chance. So, let's see what he does. And all this stuff with Russia that's going on at the moment, just ignore it. Just ignore it, because it's prove it. Prove that Russia influenced the US election. Go on, prove it. Prove it. Prove that the American public on November 8th were brainwashed by Vladimir Putin to go out and vote for Donald Trump? Where's the video evidence of Donald Trump apparently in these compromising positions in a hotel room that were recorded in secret some 10, 15 years ago? Let's see it. Come on, then. If you've got that, if BuzzFeed, the ones who broke this story yesterday about apparently Donald Trump involved in some compromising scenes sexually with prostitutes in a hotel 10, 15 years ago. If you've got video evidence of that, of the next president of the United States in a compromising position, wouldn't you publish that online? Wouldn't you publish that? Wouldn't that go viral? So it's all nonsense. All the stuff with Russia is nonsense. And all these celebrities, just get over yourselves, guys. Get over yourselves. You're not that important. You're not that important to me. They're not that important, I would imagine, to you. And as far as the American people are concerned, they obviously didn't take any notice of them because they overwhelmingly came out in support for Trump. So just get over it. Not only this week did we see the departure of Barack Obama in America with his farewell speech, but we also said, or more particularly Norway, the Norwegians, the home of the Vikings and the Norse gods, said goodbye to FM radio. To FM radio, to terrestrial radio. Now you may be thinking, okay, well, that's not really that's a non-story, isn't it, Paul? Not really. Not really, because it shows how the world is changing as far as what people listen to and the way they're listening to it and their listening habits, and the fact now that out there in Norway now, there is no terrestrial radio anymore. It's all DAB digital radio, or it's all internet radio. And this I'm very happy about and very excited about, because terrestrial radio in this country alone, in the United Kingdom, is really bad. Really, really bad. It is terrible. It's been terrible for many years. Aside from nothing else, forgetting the bad reception for a second, and you have to play around with the aerial just to pick up the shipping forecast or something, or the Archers. Apart from that, it's just, pardon my French, but it's just shit. It's just shit. You can't do anything. You can't have any edgy talk. You can't push the envelope, as they say. You don't dare do risque humour on terrestrial regular radio. And I haven't listened to terrestrial radio by choice. By choice. I mean, occasionally I've been in a room and it's been on in the background, or I've been in a situation where I've been in somebody else's car and they put the radio on and you have to listen to it. But by choice, I don't listen to it, and when I have heard it, it's just dire. It's just dire. It's terrible, and it's like it's amazing to me that in the face of DAB, digital radio, online radio stations like Fubar Radio, online internet radio stations that don't rely on censorship and regulation and are free, as long as they abide with the laws of the land. I mean, I think human sacrifice on radio might be crossing some boundaries there of taste and decency that even I would have a hard time listening to. But generally, as far as language goes and as far as content goes, I've always been pretty liberal about what you can and can't say on the radio. I've often talked about ad nauseum, to be completely honest with you, that the state of radio in this country is atrocious and has been for many, many years. That's why 3 years ago, it's 3 years ago, I think it's next week, I think, or certainly in the next couple of weeks, it'll be 3 years since FubarRadio.com was launched. And I suppose this is a bit of a plug for those guys, but I love that radio station. I love what they do. I don't always agree with them, and and like anything, they have their moments. They have their highs and they have their lows. But the core values of that radio station and what it stands for, of uncensored, unregulated radio, until Fubar burst on the scene online, there was nothing like that in this country. And I'd been dreaming of it. It's almost like someone had looked inside my head and poured out the kind of radio that I'd been screaming out for years. That I believe that, that this country should have been doing for years. We are so far behind the American radio market that it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And a lot of it, of course, comes down to the fact that the regulator, Ofcom, and all these, focus groups and governing groups, they looked during the 80s and 90s and early 2000s at the kind of radio that was going on across the pond in America, and they thought, no. We don't want to replicate that in this country. No. We don't want that here. So they put plans in place. They put regulation in place. They put censorship in place so we didn't get that kind of radio. So you wouldn't get a Howard Stern or an Opie and Anthony in this country. That's what they did. Now, it's true that that you would get the odd ones that would seep through, the likes of James Whale, the likes of Tim Shaw. You would get the odd, I suppose you'd call them shock jocks, that would materialise on the airwaves. But generally speaking, this country, the United Kingdom, has never gone far enough for me in terms of pushing the envelope and pushing the bounds of taste and decency and humour on the radio. And for me, the death of regular radio, FM radio, in Norway, is hopefully a sign of things to come in this country. Even my parents now, my dad got for Christmas a DAB digital radio, and they threw away their old FM radio. And it's just better. The quality is better. Now, it's still regulated by Ofcom and so on, but it's still, the quality of it alone, in terms of not getting static, and not having to to mess around with the area till you get a good reception, is progress, because radio in this country has been stagnant for so long. But what I would like to see next is more Fubar radios popping up, and eventually the removal of Ofcom as a regulator completely. We don't need Ofcom. What we need is common sense. We all know not to show people of a sensitive nature, not to show young children certain things. Not to show a child, a 15 rated movie like Suicide Squad. It's just common sense, surely, for most parents. Well, some parents. But, I understand that people do it, but, you shouldn't have a regulator for that. You shouldn't have a regulator to basically say what you can and can't watch. And as far as radio goes, well, I'm old enough and ugly enough to know what I should and shouldn't be listening to on the radio. So yeah, very happy that Norway have taken a step forward, and hopefully FM radio will be a thing of the past in this country very, very soon. You've been listening to the Paul Clark Podcast. See you soon.